Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet a man who helps entrepreneurs take over the world. We'll explain next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, starting a business is tough. Ask any entrepreneur. It's 24/7. But as you grow your company, sometimes the systems that worked when you were very small no longer work when you have 20, 50, 100, 1,000 employees. So that's when you bring in a professional like my next guest. Keith Davidson is in the studio. He's the Dallas market leader for CLA. Thanks for coming on the show.
Happy to be here, Jeff.
Awesome. And I know people have heard of CLA, but give us a refresher.
Sure. CLA, we're a global accounting consulting firm. And I know accounting, when you think about accounting, you think about, well, that's just tax, right? Well, tax is certainly a big part of it. But if you're doing it right as like an accounting consulting firm, you're really solving problems for the businesses you work with. And I'd say that's what CLA is. CLA is designed to serve the needs of Main Street businesses.
And you have thousands of professionals around the globe, but you have a large presence here in Dallas. Tell us about what you're seeing here in Dallas as far as the economy and your clients.
Yeah. So here in Dallas, CLA, we have about 130 offices around the globe and about 8,000 people total. Here in Dallas, we have a big presence here in Dallas, and we really have a few different verticals where we're really famous and doing a lot of great work right now. Healthcare is one of them, ranging from physician practice to dental practice to large hospital group, construction, so big construction firms, everywhere from GCs to HVAC companies. And then on the technology side, we do a lot of work with venture startups. That's where we help entrepreneurs take over the world, is on that venture startup, venture technology side.
And you and I met through Ali, the publisher of the Dallas Business Journal. We're the proud TV partner of the DBJ. And Ali always introduces us to very interesting people. As we're speaking, as we're taping this, the trade war is going hot and heavy. Have you noticed anything with your clients reacting to this? Is there any caution in the market?
They want to react. And so what I talk about a lot is, sure, if you're a business that is exporting goods, you're probably hurting right now. You're understanding if your customers can really absorb price increase, how you're going to handle that. But the majority of businesses are not impacted by these macroeconomic trends as much as they think. The average business, whether it's a $2 million business or a $20 million business, is really impacted by the fundamentals. Do you have a compelling consumer idea that you can sell in the marketplace? Can you make that idea at scale and consistent with the price you need to charge in the market? If you do those two things, it doesn't matter who's president, doesn't matter who's in Congress, and you can really build a business that way. And so I'd say overall, sure, there's caution, there's a little bit of reluctance to invest right now, but for the most part, the businesses that are doing those things well, they did really well under Reagan, they did really well under President Bush, they did really well under President Clinton, and so forth.
Well, mechanics typically know where to look when just by the sound of the car. I know I'm going to look in this part of the engine. As a business mechanic, if you will, is there a typical place to look when a company is struggling?
Sure. I think it's three things really. One is cash flow. I mean, that's probably the obvious answer, but more upstream than that, margin. So going back to what I said earlier, if you can build something that the customer wants, that's phase one. But contrary to what a lot of people think, you price that based on the market, not based on what you can make it for. Well, if you can make it for this, but it only sells in the market for this, well, you have a problem. And so do you have a healthy margin to get you through a tough time? And we work with a lot of, restaurant clients. We have a big retail practice, in dealerships, and a lot of businesses in a retail space, very low margin businesses. When things go south, they don't have a lot of room to react. We work with a lot of professional service firms, a lot of med device companies. They typically have larger margins, so they have a lot more room to be agile when times get tough in the economy. So I think that's probably a big part there. A lot of businesses we work with, they may have made the same product for 20 years, and they never really look at that horizon to understand if they can make it for cheaper, if they can make or they can grow it, which will help obviously with scale as well. And then the other one is revenue growth, and that may seem self-explanatory. You don't need to be a CPA for that. But when I work with a lot of founders, especially ones that are losing money, they're raising money, they're trying to build a business, they want to scale by raising money. The best way to scale, Jeff, is to have more revenue. Those pay a lot more bills than just raising money and giving away equity or going to a bank. So I think if you focus on those three things, growth, margin, and then cash flow, everything as basic as invoicing on time to only paying to the terms, for your accounts payable, being prudent with cash will help a lot too.
Outstanding. I can see why you're so successful. Without naming the client, tell me one of your favorite success stories.
There's been a lot. I think the most rewarding for us in a great team at CLA here is when the customer or client achieves its dreams. So one in particular that I had the pleasure to work with, and there was a big team. There was probably 10 of us total that worked with this client. They were a startup in the real estate space, and they eventually had a very large exit to a large public company. That was a 3-year period of blood, sweat, and tears from us, the founder's team, the investors. And, it takes patience. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights. But when you can see the exit, and the, fortunes of the people who exit and they get to achieve their dreams, they get to go on and do other things, that's really rewarding for us. We have to go back to work the next day, but it's still encouraging to really see that from clients of ours.
So as you look into your crystal ball, what do you see for the rest of this year and next? Is the outlook good?
I'd say the outlook is good. But going back to what I said, if you're focused on those fundamentals, you're going to have a great year. Sure, every business can be impacted by macroeconomics, but I'd say that's a small portion of where the worry should be compared to others. What we're seeing from our clients is a lot of hope, some reluctance, some caution, but hope. I think the Metroplex, thankfully, is really immune to some of the other macroeconomic impacts you see in the country, which is a great thing. And so that's what we see over the next year or two.
As I was doing my homework for this show, I put your name into Google, and one of the first things that comes up is Mario Kart racing. So, all right, tell us about this. This is DCEO magazine. Tell us about this.
What's funny, Jeff? This is probably the story I've had to tell more than anything. When I guest lecture, when I present at a business conference, somebody undoubtedly will ask me about the Mario Kart. When I was very young and stupid, and some people would tell you I'm old and stupid now, but when I was young and traveling a lot, I was traveling to Dallas, incidentally, earlier in my career. And like any 23, 24-year-old or any old millennial like I am, I played video games. Well, when the Wii came out, Mario Kart has been a popular game for 30, 40 years now. And so when it came out, they had tournaments, GameStop and others, really to promote the system. And so I thought I was decent, just like any other old millennial thinks they're good at video games. Played one, played a tournament, won that, played another one, won some money. And of course I liked money because I was, in addition to being young and dumb, I was broke too. And so once I had an opportunity to do that, I started getting more and more and more to where I find myself one day, back when Nintendo used to do this, they don't do it anymore, but back when they released like their national rankings, I was in it. No. I had no idea how I was in it. And so it really just led to one after the other. And it's a story. It's funny. I never talk about it much. My kids, I talked to them about it for the first time maybe a year ago.
Really?
Because I showed them the story. And of course they, had no clue. Them and their friends always wondered why I was so good at it. And then now I guess they know why. And so, of course, that's the coolest thing about my job to them is I play Mario Kart because apparently they think that's part of my job. It's not. It's a weekend hobby now. But back then, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, I imagine some of the same discipline that you used to become a pro at Mario Kart racing applies to what you do now. I mean, you have to practice and make sure that you're serving the client and listening to the client.
I'd say it's really, I think video games in general, I laugh about this, and I even mentioned this some in the article, a lot of video games can really teach you about someone's patience, someone's ability to really, grind, so to speak, learn something, really apply it and see how good they can be at it. Because, in a firm like ours, or even law or any other, agency environment, we have over 150 people ranging from age 22 to in their 60s. Well, that's a big group of people. And so when, actually every now and then on, after hours or during the lunch, we'll play video games in the office. And it's interesting, to see how people's work ethic will come through in video games. The ones that are determined and are always going to find a way, guess what? In video games, they're going to do the same thing. The ones that are friends of mine or even my kids, when they get very impatient and slam controllers, that's going to come out eventually in their business dealings. And so it really can teach you a lot, even though it's easy to just dismiss and blame kids in their video games. It's really can teach you a lot of life lessons along the way.
All right, Keith, we're almost out of time. So final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
I think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity over the last few years and going forward for small businesses. The Metroplex, a lot of people that's been in the Metroplex their whole lives, their whole careers, don't really understand what it's like in other, large cities. And so I think we're really lucky here, really lucky to have the resources we do. And if I'm a small business owner, the hardest small business in the world to operate is those at $2 to $3 million. It's easier to be 100. It's a little easier to be $1 million, believe it or not. But to be in that $2 to $3 million range is very difficult. So as you think about your next year or two, how much do you really know about your business? How much do you really have a handle on your strategy? Could be tax strategy, could be your financial strategy. And are you really working with someone who understands business, not just understands finance or just understands tax? And so without being an infomercial, I couldn't be prouder or happier with the team that I get to work with every day at CLA. Not just our office, but all of our offices. And so can you really pair the opportunity we have in the market and your business with professionals who can help enable that? I think that's really the opportunity that a lot of businesses have over the next couple of years. And as always, we're happy to help.
Outstanding. Thank you. You've been an amazing guest. We're going to end with the website, which is CLAconnect.com. The great Keith Davidson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Happy to be here.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.